Hi everyone, I hope you all are well. Today I'd like to share a traditional recipe with you from another part of the world. The dish is Afghan Salata, or Afghan salad. It's tasty, super healthy, and easy to make. Salata works well as a light side to a rich main course, or it makes a tasty and quick meal on its own. For instance, you could pair it with a bit of tinned mackerel or sardines. If you prefer a vegan option, you could serve it with falafel or marinated tofu. It's delicious, fresh, and light. I think you'll enjoy it. Afghan salata is typically made from a base of cucumbers, onions, tomatoes, and carrots. It's a super light and refreshing salad and really adaptive, great at absorbing other veg that you've got hanging around the house and is looking to be used up. So, unlike European salads, it's dressed with just lemon juice, salt, and pepper. There's no olive oil that's added traditionally into the salad, although you could serve olive oil alongside. Our ingredients for the salata today, we've got some tomatoes. I found these rather fancy British pink Temptation tomatoes on sale, so I grabbed them, snatched them up, and I've got some kind of standard cherry tomatoes here, quite inexpensive. I've got some cilantro and some fresh mint, lemon, red onion, a couple of carrots, and some radishes that I needed to use up. For our salata to be a meal, we need a bit of protein. So I looked at a few options for us. One is fish, if you enjoy tinned fish. And I found pilchards and mackerel, both in tomato sauce at Tesco's. These are pretty good value for money. So pilchards are, if you're not familiar, are kind of a grown-up sardine. Pilchards are the cheapest, actually, of all our protein sources for today's recipe. They come in at £2.75 a kilo, which is pretty inexpensive. Next runner-up is mackerel, and mackerel comes in at £6.40 a kilo. It's worth noting that in terms of sustainability, I looked these up, pilchards are kind of under the medium sustainability range, and mackerel are considered to be much more sustainable. So if this is influencing your purchase, I would tend to go with mackerel at the moment. If you've got pilchards on hand, then by all means, make good use of them. A vegan option for this salata, for making a meal, I found some falafel and these spicy, sweet chili tofu bites, both of which are really nice products. In terms of cost, the falafel is a bit cheaper. Our falafel costs £7.50 the kilo. These tofu chili bites come in at £10 the kilo. And I found another product which I didn't buy, and these were marinated pieces of tofu, which came at £15.63 the kilo. So a huge range of prices. Read the fine print. The recipe for Afghan salata couldn't be simpler. We're going to basically dice or cube most of these ingredients. We'll chop the fresh mint and coriander, and it all goes into the bowl and gets tossed up last minute with salt, pepper, and lemon juice. That's it. So a bit of knife skills come into play. Right, let's get started. To core the tomatoes, you can use just the tip of your paring knife with your thumb held here, so that if you slip a little bit, your thumb will prevent the knife from going further into the tomato and then further into your hand underneath. So that works pretty well. Then we just cube these up. So I'm cutting these tomatoes into thirds and then cubing each of the slices into equal pieces. The goal here, you don't have to be perfect, but just strive for some consistency. The shape and sizes of the veg should more or less stay similar. And for the cherry tomatoes, I just cut these in half. Cut each half again, so I've got quarters, and then cut the quarters into halves, more or less to get the same size as the tomato cut. So that's the tomatoes done. Next is the cucumber, which also needs to get diced. And you can leave the skin on, you can take it off, or you can go somewhere in between. So for the cucumber, I just cut these into about 3 equal pieces. And imagine the cube size that I'm looking for, so something more or less along the size of the tomato. In fact, I can even put that out there as a guide, as a reference. And cut the cucumber into slices. And then each slice you can cut into sticks. And then the sticks into cubes. And of course you can stack your slices on top of each other and speed things up a bit. Okay, so I think we're going to need a bigger boat. So let's add all of these to this bowl. Next are the carrots, and just going to peel these. And then just trim the carrot top end. And for the tip, I'm going to just cut this on an angle like that. And then when we go to grate it, that will kind of determine the length of the grate, if you see what I mean. We're going to use the larger holes on the grater. And then using that angle cut, just grate the carrot. And that's for snacking. And then this can go into the bowl. And for the radishes, they're about the size of the cherry tomato, so I'm going to cut them up in more or less the same way. So cutting into halves, each of the halves into quarters, and then the quarters into thirds, if you will. Now into the bowl. And onto the onion. So you may remember from other recipes for the onion to dice it, we're just going to top and tail it like we've just done there. Doing our best to keep the root end intact because that's going to help keep the onion together as we slice it. Cut the onion in half. Peel off any papery bit And then to dice it, keeping the root there on the left, keeping the onion intact, I'm going to take slices this way, being careful not to cut through the whole onion, and following the contour of the onion, tilting the knife as I go, and then it makes quick work for dicing the onion. When you get to the end, if the onion gets a little wobbly, which it does, just flip it over and cut around the root, and then repeat for the remaining half. And for raw onion and salads, I like to sprinkle them with a bit of salt and let them sort of soak up, let them cook a little bit in the salt before it goes into the salad. You don't have to do this, but I think it works really nicely. Done. And that's looking pretty colorful already. And now the herbs. We want about a cup of roughly chopped coriander, so that's a good handful. Feel free to use the stems if they're tender, which they usually are. They're nice and sweet and crunchy. And then just wind these up into a kind of ball. And that should do. And same for the mint. To get the leaves off, you can just more or less pull them backwards on the stem. They come off pretty easily. And similarly for the mint, like the coriander, we're just going to bunch this up into a ball on the board. And then slice through. And then if you rotate this 90 degrees, pass the knife again to get a rough chop. And that's done. And the last step is to dress the salad with lemon juice, a bit of lemon zest, and salt, and we're ready for a meal. For the lemon, I'm not going to waste the zest opportunity, so I've got a handy zester here. You could also use a vegetable peeler and then peel it off and finally chop the zest, and that will work as well, or leave the zest out if you don't want to use it. Great. And this, I'll just give a little chop. It smells wonderful. And that goes into the salad. And then lastly, we're going to juice the lemon and salt the salad, and we're ready to go. If you've got seeds to deal with, my suggestion is to get a little bowl and a fork and just squeeze and then you can fish out the seeds. And into the salad. We're going to use a bit of salt, some pepper, be sure and taste for seasoning, It's really nice. It's so fresh. It's really good. Our traditional cuisine, Afghan Salata. Enjoy.